Nikhil, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, man. Good to be here, bro.
Yeah, it's so good to have you, man. I want to start by asking you, first thing that comes to mind when I say, when was your last oh shit moment?
Ooh, great question. Oh shit moment. Man, I have a kid. That's an oh shit moment.
So when you had your kid, it was oh shit? Or do you think about it every day? Like,
Every
oh, shit,
day.
I have a kid.
Every day. Every day. All my life. Every day. You wake up and you're just like, I got a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's only like 6.5, 7 months, so it's still fresh. It's still
Yeah. You wake up and it's like, human.
Yeah. And it's like yours. And you just keep remembering that it's yours. It's crazy.
That is crazy. I have a really good friend who, it's so funny. I think this is his thing, but like he always says to me, he's like, the reason I love being a dad is because he's like, it's like the most, it's like having a mini me. And it makes me feel so powerful that he's like going to take on like me and he's just like me and I get to create him.
Yeah.
You're psycho.
It's
I get what he's saying though.
Yeah. There are moments you look at, like, again, depending on what your kid looks like. And if you, there's always a resemblance because obviously it's your DNA. And so you look at your kid and you're just like, am I looking at a mini me? Crazy. Like you're made of me. It's wild. It's wild. I think it's one of the craziest things ever.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a cutie. You were just showing me photos.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Nikhil, you went from 7-Eleven to this wellness world and yoga, and we're obviously going to talk about business. We're going to talk about yoga, and we're going to talk about life. But what makes for a successful, like what would make you a successful 7-Eleven store owner when you were in that world?
Yeah.
What made for success in having a store from such a massive franchise that's worldwide?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when you're in the 7-Eleven world, the best way to define success would be to scale. You're like, hey, I have one store, now I have 3 stores, now I have 5 stores, I have 10 stores, I have a regional manager, I have a district manager. Like I franchised 30 7-Elevens. Like that would have defined success in that business.
Yeah. Are the margins small that you really want to franchise so badly or keep scaling? I mean, so badly?
I think the margins, like at face value, the margins are like 40%.
Oh, okay.
But your take home margin is like 5% because the way the contract structured with 7-Eleven corporate is such, and obviously labor is expensive. Oh, there's a lot of overhead, so
they take a big piece.
Yeah. 7-Eleven takes a little around 40%. 50%, if not more.
They take 50%.
Yeah, 50%.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember talking about this with you a while back, but
Yeah.
I am just as surprised the second time you told me.
Yeah. They take
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's wild.
That's what I think most people think it's a franchise fee and then like a tiny percentage. That's probably what people assume.
Yeah, I think that's the general assumption so if you look at like Subway, they take like 8%, McDonald's, they take like anywhere from like 10-ish%.
With a big upfront, right?
With the big upfront, but 7-Eleven takes a big upfront too.
What?
Yeah, and then they take a 50%.
Why do they get to take so much more? Do they claim that?
I think they've just structured it the way they wanted to structure it. And so the way they have it is that they pay rent and utilities. They take care of like the communication with the landlord. But then because of that, they take 50%.
Yeah.
So they're also like finding the locations and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I think there was a time in where that made sense, maybe like in the 80s and 90s. I think that was a good idea because they were doing all the top level negotiations with landlords, et cetera. And so you come in as a franchisee, you don't have to worry about paying rent and dealing with other things. You just have to run the 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
But as time has gone on, it's just that the math doesn't math anymore.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
The math doesn't math anymore.
Facts, bro.
Is this why you decided to transition into wellness, or was it a different thing that was going on in your life that you're like, 7-Eleven is not really for me. I'm going to go into yoga. Like the opposite of 7-Eleven in a way.
It's literally it's literally the opposite.
Yeah.
Both there's a funny thing. Both yoga and 7-Eleven give you Indian vibes, which I think is hilarious.
Well, hold on. Why? I'm actually curious.
Yes.
Why is in terms of 7-Eleven? Why is it run so much by the Indian culture? Is there like a
Well, so I think in India, like corner stores are a common thing, and everyone knows how to run one. But B, I think as 7-Eleven was growing as a franchise, was in the 80s and 90s, there was a huge influx of immigrants from that side of the world in the 80s and 90s as well. So I think it was just like it was very coincidental.
So that's where they started taking on the franchises.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Exactly. It was just like, it was spreading like wildfire. It was blooming. And I think like,
Culturally, it's like, my cousin tell you, and then
yeah,
tell you, it's kinda
100%,
like,
100%.
it's kind of stayed.
My parents got into the business because my dad was a mechanical engineer and my mom was like a vice principal at a school in India. She was very much into the education realm of things, and my dad was very much like science, engineer, hands-on kind of dude. And when they first moved to Cleveland, when they came to America, it was too cold for my mom. She's like, we got to get out of here. So they drove to LA. They knew someone in LA. They drove from Cleveland to LA. They started life here. And very early on, they met a family who franchised 7-Elevens. And they were like, you should do this too. They were like, okay, cool. How do we do it? And they're like, oh, you have to save up so-and-so amount of money and you have to do this training and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, okay, let's do it. And that's how they got in. Then they got other people in. And, that's just kind of how it spread. So I think that's why it just coincidentally is very... Just very,
yeah, absolutely. So then the transition,
so
yoga and wellness.
So I think that for me, 7-Eleven was a means to an end, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did not want to get into the 7-Eleven business. I grew up in the business because my parents franchised stores, but I knew I didn't want to do that. I was like, I want to do something different. That was always like, I took pride in wanting to do something different for whatever reason. I feel like I already knew 7-Eleven and I wanted to do something new and different, exciting, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was obsessed with sports, basketball specifically, diehard Laker fan. I wanted to be a Laker, but that was never going to happen. So I studied broadcast journalism, and I actually wanted to be like a play-by-play announcer for the Lakers. I wanted to go on that path.
Yeah.
I graduated around the 2008 recession, like in 2008 actually. And so, oh yeah.
07.
Yeah. So the job market, as you know, like you enter the real world coming out of college and they're like, oh, no. We're not hiring people. We're laying off people. And I'm like, oh, so what do I do?
Yeah. We literally entered the worst market in the
history. Yeah. So I didn't know what to do. So I was kind of like, okay, I need to make money. How do I figure this out? So I think at the time, like it's like one of those Ikigai charts. You're like, what do I know? What am I good at? What is blah, blah, blah? How do I make money?
And for anyone listening, the Ikigai chart is a pretty cool thing to do.
100%.
Right? Because I don't remember exactly what it is, but it is, what am I good at?
What am I good at?
What does the world need more of?
Yeah.
What do I really enjoy doing? Kind of like, anyway, the point is, it's a Venn diagram that's trying to find your ultimate career.
Exactly. And this wasn't something I did consciously at the time. This is more I'm able to say in hindsight. Mm-hmm. Live in the moment, it was like survival. I was just like, I need to move out. I need to make my own money, and I need to figure out what I'm going to do with my life, right? And 7-Eleven was the one thing that I knew how to do. I ran my parents' stores all through high school, all through college. Like I had always helped them out at work. So I knew exactly what to do. So I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Even though I said I was never going to do this, I'm going to buy a 7-Eleven and I'm going to start my life, and I'm going to get up on my own 2 feet. I'm going to figure this thing out. So I bought my store in 2010. And at the time I did consider, to your point, like what does success look like in 7-Eleven? I did consider, now I'm going to buy a second store and a third store, because you get in the rat race. Like you buy your store and everyone in corporate's like, hey, you're doing a great job. Like, when do you want another store? Like, you should start applying for a second store and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, like, should I? I should. Like, so it was very existential in that moment. But so from there, this is like, obviously there's the long version of the story. But the short version is 7-Eleven is always a means to an end. It wasn't something I wanted to do. It was a way for me to gain financial independence and like the freedom of time to start discovering myself. Yeah. Health, fitness, wellness, all this came way later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important to honor the part of the journey of where we're like maybe not feeling that we're super like tapped into our mission or what we're meant to do and this and that, but we're doing something that is also, an ends to a means to an end, and it's making it. I think that we have so much consumption of self-help and growth mindset stuff today versus like, back then.
Totally.
That I think that it's also easy to get caught up in like, oh no, like I need to be a millionaire doing like literally what I enjoy most. And if what I enjoy most is watching Netflix, I need to figure out how to make $1 million watching Netflix or whatever. Or just like, or if it's something that's, even if it's like wellness oriented or whatever it may be, it's like, well, you could kind of hybrid it in the meantime, as long as you've got this directional of like, okay, I'm doing this to do this and that, right? Not doing something that you absolutely hate. And it's like killing your soul, right?
Totally.
But I think it's an okay place to be in between.
Yeah.
So, you went into the wellness space. You You sold that, right? And before you bought Sweat Yoga,
No, I still have it.
you still have it.
I still
Hell
have
yeah!
it.
See,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I
That's
still have it.
smart.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
smart, right?
yeah,
You have a business that's still providing,
yeah,
a profit that helps you build another dream.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was just at the store a few weeks ago, and it's like time travel. It's like wild because
Yeah.
you go back and you're like, oh my God, this is still a part of me. This is still who I am. This is still
What is 7-Eleven's mission? Do they have a mission statement? I'm just
Oh,
curious.
I honestly, I don't know.
Okay,
I
just
don't know.
out of
That's
curiosity.
embarrassing.
Because we're always talking about like mission-driven businesses and conscious businesses, and I'm like,
Yeah.
well, 7-Eleven has a mission of something, of some
I
sort.
think at one point, this is probably like
Yeah.
10, 15 years ago when I was like more actively involved.
Yeah.
Their mission was like something to do with like retailer initiative. They wanted us to, be your community store and that sort of thing.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Got it.
But I think the world has just changed too dramatically for that to be realistic anymore.
Totally. What I do like about a place like 7-Eleven, to be honest, is that they have added healthier options,
100%.
which is nice.
Totally.
So it's like you still stop by and be like,
Yeah.
hey, I can still get like an organic coconut water with no additives or something like that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Which is
Exactly.
cool.
Yeah, that's
It just says something about where the world is going too for 7-Eleven to do that, which is awesome.
absolutely.
So then what was it that really caused you to do it? I know you always wanted to do it. You were really into sports and fitness. What caused you to actually pull the trigger and be like, okay, I'm going to buy this,
Yeah.
yoga, not franchise, but like group of yoga studios, really?
Yeah. So I would say it is definitely a combination of things. One of them is that I've played sports throughout my life. I got hurt, I got injured, and so I was always going to like PT or rehab or getting like
in and out of injury kind of thing always?
100%. Yeah. Mostly my back. I displaced 3 discs in my lower back, pinched on my sciatic nerve. It was literally the most painful, most excruciating, definitely depressing. Like, I've always explained this to my friends this way. I was like, look, if you wake up in the morning and your pain level is so high that like you're at a 5, you're going to cap out. Life is going to cap out at a 5 or a 7. You're never going to get to experience 8, 9, and 10. You're never get to experience real fun because in every moment you're jaded by that pain. You could be at a Laker game and you're like stoked. You're like, yo, I'm at a Laker game. I'm watching Kobe Bryant play. But you're sitting in your chair and you're like back's hurting and you're just kind of like adjusting every few minutes. Like, where's the joy in that?
Yeah.
It's like this constant thing that holds you down. So I think pain in hindsight, it's one of those things you can always say in hindsight where you're like, oh, one of the biggest things that was like my adversary, like I used it as my fuel and blah, blah, blah. It's definitely easier to say in hindsight, but in that moment you're just like, dude, fuck this. Excuse my French, I'm not sure.
No, this is the podcast.
Okay, cool.
Fuck.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm just like, it was literally like fuck this shit. Like I hate this pain. I don't want to feel this. I got to get out of it. And then I'll be honest, I think the world we live in, like a lot of stuff is after the fact, right? So you go with pain and they're like, here's medicine. They put me on NSAIDs for 6 months to a year at one point. And I'm like, but what's the point of having this Advil every night for a year? Like,
it's crazy.
Are we solving anything? They're like, oh, it's a blood thinner. So, careful if you get hurt, if you get a cut, you might see a lot of blood. I'm like, are we solving my problem though?
Yeah. No,
or are we just
insane.
like trying to like, mediate the pain? So I think I had a lot of, I did a lot of thinking around just like, why do we live in a world where like you get hurt first, you get sick first, and then like the treatment is after the fact and it's not that good. It's like so-so. I also don't want to take away from it. It can be very good. The treatment can be phenomenal. Like we can cure cancer now. Like
I always say, like sometimes you just need a little bit of Western medicine.
100%.
Sometimes you just need it.
Yeah.
Most of the time,
no. You don't. If it like lifestyle, there's so many things that we can change with our lifestyle. And so I think I just set out on a path for myself to figure it out. Like I almost looked at like the time freedom and the financial freedom that I got from 7-Eleven as an opportunity to figure this out for myself, for my own body. So like if I needed to go to like a chiropractor every other week, I could afford it. If I needed to go get a massage every other week or go do a cold plunge or go to a yoga class, go to a Pilates class, I just started doing anything and everything in my power to get ahead of it, to fix my body, to get out of the pain and to get into a place where I felt like myself again. And I think that journey lasted years. I was just like busting my ass doing that. And I spent obviously a lot of money and time and effort and energy doing all those things. So at some point, I was just like, okay, now how do I simplify this and package it nicely and make it very accessible for anybody else who wants to access this, right? Anything to do with wellness. And so I kind of wanted to like start my own thing. So I was working on starting my own company. I had a few names picked out. One of them was Active Recovery. One of them was like Atomic Yoga. It was all these different types of things that like Active Recovery is my favorite one because it was supposed to be an all-in-one place. It's like you come here, you can do like workout classes, or you can have like access to a cold plunge, sauna, all the different things. There's a chiropractor on site. There's a PT on site. There's a massage therapist on site. Everything.
Hell of an undertaking.
Hell of an undertaking.
Yeah.
Hell of an undertaking.
That's a lot.
So these are all just ideas.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm like piling these ideas together, and I think at the time this is where I'm like, okay, let me reach out to industry experts who have already achieved something in this space, and let me ask them questions. Let me learn from them. So the original founder and previous owner of Sweat Yoga is one of the people who I had reached out to get advice because I was a client at Sweat Yoga.
Yeah.
So I reached out to him to get advice, and that's kind of how the relationship started. And honestly, the rest from there is like very serendipitous. Like it wasn't like I set out to buy Sweat Yoga. That wasn't like the goal.
Right.
The goal was I was working on starting my own thing in this space, and then you kind of just surrender to the flow of life, and the next thing happens, and the next thing happens, and the next thing happens, and the signs are just leading you in one way. And one fine day, this opportunity presented itself, and I was like,
love it.
I'm just gonna put my best foot forward. I'm gonna do everything I can do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What's up, guys? I hope you're enjoying the show. If you love the show, please share it with a homie. It would mean the world to me. Also want to let you know that you can check out sebastiannam.com for more resources like this, and also www.goglobal.agency, a digital marketing agency that's end-to-end, helping purpose-driven and mission-driven brands scale their impact. Again, that's goglobal.agency or sebastiannam.com. Please hit me up straight up on Instagram, DM me, ask me questions. I'd love to connect with you and see what you thought about this episode or other episodes and what you want to hear more of. Much love. To touch on one thing that you said earlier, in terms of like pain and being able to, like how much you can enjoy within the pain. That's actually something that I find very admirable on certain people.
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna give a shout out to my mom right here, and she'll enjoy it. But like, she can be going through physical pain a lot of time for whatever different reasons, and she's still like maximum presence and enjoying things.
Wow.
And I'm just like, I don't know how you fucking do that.
That's incredible.
Because I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, that is some elevated consciousness.
It
like
is.
to be able to just let go. And like you're here, and like your consciousness is up here, and then your pain is just non-existence.
Yeah.
I think it's there's not a lot of people that can really like really manage pain that way.
That's inspiring.
It is.
As you say that, I'm just kind of like, I'm like, okay, how would you separate that? Because
it's so hard. Because I don't even get sick, really.
Yeah.
I barely get sick.
I hear you.
I'm such a baby when I get sick, dude. I am just worthless.
Yeah. I don't want to eat. I don't want to eat. You need liquids. I don't want to.
No,
like
So like any kind of pain, like it's just tough. But yeah, anyway.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a whole different thing on being able to manage that. But that's great that took you on your journey to then you surrendered to that opportunity, which is very interesting. I've been recently kind of, I don't want to say wrestling, but just really thinking about these concepts of, there's like the manifesting and and there's different ways of manifesting. There's like aligned action, and then there's like detachment with high desire. You know what I mean? And then there's just like certain knowingness, like feeling into it already before it's happened. And there's all these fucking things going on about manifestation. And then you've got this whole like, you must surrender everything to the flow of life. And then it's just an interesting thing it's a concept that I play with all the time. And it's a tough balance between all of it, man.
I agree with you.
You know
I agree with you. I think there's so many things that are not mutually exclusive. Like in this case, you can manifest something on a value system. Like, I don't believe we live in a world in where you can manifest something so specific. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, I manifested sweat yoga, as in like I want that, and then I manifested and I got that. But I believe in manifesting in a way where it's like, hey, I'm gonna continue to work in this space, and at some point, I am gonna end up doing something in this space, whether I end up starting something on my own,
Yeah.
or an opportunity presents itself to where you can acquire a company or whatever it might be, right? And so, and that's where the surrender comes in too, because you can manifest a grander vision, and then surrender to where life takes you on that vision, but you're still in that kind of category.
Yeah, it's like a north, like that you have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's really cool how it worked out for you in that sense. I love sweat yoga. I'm a big fan. And so let's talk about sweat specifically a little bit.
Yeah.
And within that framework of yoga, you've got a very in certain ways non-traditional yoga, right? You've got the very traditional yoga with certain the asanas and the positions and kind of this, like a lot of the spirituality behind it and the meditation and the breath. And then you've got like super modern versions of yoga. And, I would say that sweat's kind of definitely on the towards this, not the most modern, but it's not completely like getting rid of the tradition, but it's pretty up there, right? You've got dark rooms, super high heat, 98 to 105. I would say it's usually above 100. Yeah. With infrared too, infrared lights, loud music. So I think it's a fucking hell of an experience. That's different. So you want to talk about it a little bit about the experience?
Yeah, I think the experience is what it is, right? It's very much an experiential wellness kind of thing. I think each aspect of the experience does something for you, right? So the second you walk in to that hot room, it just hits you. The heat hits you and your body, and I think like
it's so sensory.
Yeah, it's so sensory. Yeah. It trips something in your brain to be like, all right, let's go. Yeah. Let's go. Like I'm here for it. Yeah. And obviously, like if you didn't, sleep so well the night before, if you had a couple of drinks the day before, you walk in, you're like, oh fuck, this is gonna be devastating today, So right when you walk into that heat, you just know what's about to happen. And so, and then obviously there's to your point, the music, right? The sound of I think music is like frequency, right? It hits you on a different level. Like it enters your brain. I've loved music since day one. Music is something I'm just so drawn to. So I think what you're listening to impacts everything that's happening, like the speed of it, the frequency of it, the sound of it, the pace of it, tempo, all those types of things. So yeah, I think you walk into the room, you feel that heat, the music's playing, you're getting yourself into a zone, and then you lay down your mat, and I like to call being on the mat, it's like you're on your own little island, right? Or like I've always imagined like our parent company's called Yoga Labs, because I feel like you're going into a lab, right? It's like your body is the bacteria, so to speak, and the mat is kind of like the petri dish, and like it's like you're in a little test tube, and you're on your mat, and then it begins. The experience begins, and like the experiment begins. The heat is there, that's a variable. The music's there, that's a variable. And then you start to do things. You're cued to like breathe a certain way. You're cued to shut your mind off and like separate yourself from the outside world. You're entering that moment, and that present moment, and your body, and you're meeting yourself where you're at. So today you might be in a different place where you were yesterday, and you'll be in a different place tomorrow. Yeah. So I think each and every one of those things is so intentionally laid out in such a beautiful way that when you're there, that's kind of like the beginning of the journey, so to speak, to start self-discovery. And
love it.
Yeah.
Sweat yoga has an interesting thing where it has a cadence. So I love knowing the cadence because I know where I'm at. There's definitely never going to be a clock in there, so you don't know what time it is, which I love. But I like knowing where I'm at in class.
Yeah.
So I like that there's a cadence. And so you've got this cadence of you have flow 1, you have flow 2 and flow 3, and it gets flow 2 and flow 3 have more and more positions that are involved. So it gets longer, and then you have kind of like either your abs or your long holds, and then you have your wind down. So you've got the structure. What's unique about sweat yoga that I haven't really experienced in other places, and I've probably been to about 40 other places. Living in LA.
Yeah.
And that it has within the structure, it has this free flow, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
And you want to speak to the the free flow a little bit, and maybe like how that could lead a little bit to this whole, to life and adaptability and flexibility.
Yeah. So I think the free flow, it hits on so many things, but one of the things it hits on is like just freedom of movement in your own body. So if like the flow A, the first flow is all about your spine, right? So our spine moves in 6 different directions.
Okay.
So the idea of the A flow, as you've noticed, it's always the sun A is very similar. It's always like your Surya Namaskar A, and you're doing some of the same movements over and over, including like the cat-cow type of thing.
Yeah.
So you're just trying to get your spine to move in all 6 directions that it moves in. You're trying to like open your body up because we live in a very kind of stagnant lifestyle. And then the B flow, the second flow, is all about opening up your hips and your lower body, your hips, your legs. So you'll notice a lot more like warrior 1s, warrior 2s, and you're getting into that lower body. Now, in between that, to your point, is the free flow. So your body's different than my body's different than the next person's body.
Yeah.
And so in that free flow, the music goes up, the teacher stops talking, and it's almost like a dance. It's almost like
so fun.
Yeah,
it is.
It's every person can go at a different pace, different vibe, different mindset.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you're finding your own edge. You're finding your own, how far does my spine want to go today? And you're just kind of dancing with it. And again, like, because it's breath to movement, I think this is something that doesn't get talked about enough in my opinion, but breath to movement. So when somebody cues like inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, my 4 is different than your 4 is different than the next person's 4. And also, some people like to go 5, some people like to go 6, some people like to go 3. Like everyone has a different. So in the free flow, you really get to explore that breath to movement and your length of breath. Like I'm one person who really slows down in the free flow. I go very slow inhale and I really maximize my expansion, and then slow exhale and I maximize the contraction. And like that's just my tempo, because I feel like in life I'm going really fast.
Yeah.
So my balance comes in class when I slow down.
Love that.
Yeah.
It's so fun. The first time I experienced sweat yoga, which is well before we knew each other, well before you were involved in the business. It was literally when I moved to LA like 10 years ago.
I love that.
So I went in and I was really kind of trying to find my place, and it fucking kicked my ass. And I couldn't handle it. And so I couldn't handle the heat.
Yeah.
And so I actually I had to step out of the studio. I think I did like a step out, step in 3 times.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to keep doing it. I wanted to tell myself I could do it.
Yeah.
And then I think the second time I kind of endured with one. No, I think I stepped out once, and then finally the third time I endured the whole thing. But I kind of had to sit like for a while and not do anything. And then this whole concept of the free flow at first felt a little bit weird. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I was like, I need the structure. And then and then I was seeing that a few people were kind of like lost like me, but then there was people just like getting real, like fun and dancey.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then I started kind of getting the track, and I love it. It's so fun because you really can feel free to express yourself too and allow your body to move in any way that it needs to, or slow it down or speed it up and all these things. So I think it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's very unique. In terms of there's multiple studios, across LA. How do you maintain consistency from a business standpoint across the different studios?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think one of the main things is that the way we have our staff structured, like we have a regional manager and a regional yoga director. So I think, because my idea with a brand like this is that it has to be consistent across the board. Like if you go to West Hollywood and take a class, you should still be getting that. You should still feel like this is that exact same sweat yoga experience that I got in Santa Monica, right? So the hiring process of the teachers and the coaching process and the training process is kind of like locked in now. Yeah. And I think that's a big part of it. And we also encourage teachers to take classes at other studios, and
Right.
it helps build the community as well. Honestly, just I got to give a shout out to the people that make up Sweat Yoga, right? Because I'm here and I can talk about certain things and I can share ideas and whatever. At the end of the day, like the teachers that are hosting the classes, like they're pouring in so much energy and soul and time and effort for those students to have that experience, and the support system that makes that world go around, whether it's the yoga directors, the front desk staff.
Yeah, keeping consistency can be a tough thing, but it's nice. I mean, once it gets going, it is interesting. 'Cause so I've usually gone between 2 different studios, and then I'm trying to think if I've ever even gone to the West Side. I wouldn't know, but and obviously there's going to be its own little flavor because the community perhaps is different in different neighborhoods, right?
Yeah.
But to be able to get that feeling when you come out of it, right? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Why the infrared? That's not common, I don't think, in really anything in terms of like while you're exercising, there's infrared lights, which you can't really tell they're there, but they're infrared, so you don't really see them.
Yeah.
What does the infrared do for you while you're in yoga practice?
Yeah. So, I mean, now obviously it's 2025 and everybody knows the science behind infrared saunas and the benefits of it.
Yeah.
Shout out to the previous owner who built this in like 2012, 2013, because no one was doing it back then. Now, many people are doing it. So, huge shout out to him. But yeah, infrared saunas just have so many health benefits. The way it penetrates your cells and like it gives you that kind of recovery. So if you think about a heater, like a thermostat heater, it heats you externally, outside in. Infrared heat penetrates your cells and it heats you inside out. And so there's just a lot of cell recovery happening. It's good for detoxification. It's good for just so many things on a scientific nerdy level.
Yeah. It's so cool to get all of that at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you feel about the concept of community in terms of you've got a local business, you got brick and mortars, you got multiple ones, and then we're in a world where it went online so hard during the pandemic, and now we're really kind of coming back more towards not back. We've been back, but what I mean is, I think people are craving community, and more than ever.
Yeah.
And with the AI revolution that we're living in, that it's like so real. Like so real, and like younger and younger generations, like they're gonna have like this is all they're gonna know, right? And have so much more isolation, I think, than we've ever felt, and even more anxiety around that stuff. How do you feel about the community aspect built into like a business?
I think it might be the most valuable aspect. I think that personally, I think humans will always be human. So regardless of technology and AI, in our DNA is deeply, deeply, deeply coded the need to be a part of a social group. IRL, you know what I mean? As opposed to like just on a chat room or whatever it might be. I genuinely do think that humans will always be human, and so I think the community aspect is honestly genuinely the most quite possibly the most important aspect.
I love that. It's wild to think about. Like the worst thing you could do to a human being is put them in solitary confinement.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually worse than like actual physical torture. Which
literally,
it's
crazy.
Like you literally need it.
Yeah,
you were designed and wired that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Chat rooms. Did you have an AIM name? What was your AIM name?
Oh God,
do you remember it?
I've had a few probably because we grew up in that time when we had but I remember one of mine was, you remember that song by Akon, Mr. Lonely? I love that song.
How did it go?
With it. And then my last name is Dhawan.
Okay.
But people didn't know how to pronounce it, so I became Dhawan.
Yeah.
So my screen name was Dhawan and Only Lonely.
I love asking for AM screen name.
So stupid. It's so stupid.
Embarrassing. I love it.
Yeah.
It's so good, man.
But I had a few. I think at one point I was like Kobe, Shaq, 824. Like I was just all the just.
That's funny. I remember like my mom reminded me of this actually a couple weeks ago. My mom comes up twice in the podcast. Mom, you better be stoked.
Yeah.
She was like, "Didn't you guys like do a prank on one of your friends, queer?" But like, I was like, "Oh my God, yeah!" Like we literally like created. So mean. We created like a fake AIM name to pretend to be like this girl.
Oh my God.
And like literally let him on for like 6 months, where it would literally be like he'd be all excited, like have friends like chatting on another room, like pretending to be a girl, and finally went for like a meeting, And it was just like all of us like
Oh
sitting there.
my God.
He was so disappointed.
6 months. Oh, that's
Dude,
rough.
AIM, man.
Oh, that's rough. What was your screen name?
Good times. So embarrassing.
Yeah, I know. You put me on the spot. So.
I thought you had forgotten.
No.
It was Seba Danks.
Dang.
And then it became Seba Tank from Frank the Tank. Oh man, so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So I just want to touch on this this concept of spirituality that is in yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps I don't know what I don't know if you have like a religion or if you're spiritual practice. Do you see a connection between spirituality and money as an entrepreneur who's like I went after a 7-Eleven, I still have it. I was like maybe thinking about scaling that, but I was like that's not really what for me, but I'm still this driven person, and then I acquired a 4 yoga studios, and now I'm looking to grow that, but I have a mission. And like, how do you see the connection between spirituality and it could be God and money and this desire to make money?
Man, that's a great question. I don't know if I've ever even thought about it that way. I will say that, and you could probably talk on this a lot, because the whole idea of conscious leadership and conscious capitalism, right? So I've never thought about spirituality and money kind of side by side. If I thought very deeply about it, I would probably think that they don't get along and they live on opposite sides of the spectrum. Personally, like, just that's the first thing that comes off my head. But I also think it's how you interpret things, and I think like money can be interpreted in a very negative way because of greed and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's the world we live in. The world we live in is like this currency exchange, and that's how you live. That's how you get by, et cetera. So I think that the idea of money and conscious capitalism is like the closest you can get to touching spirituality. But if you were to go full spirituality, I don't think the money factor exists anywhere in that equation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's no right or wrong.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong. Exactly.
Yeah. I was just wondering what you thought about it.
Yeah.
I've actually, like, the more I've thought about it recently, the more I feel that I actually feel like that they are connected. Simply because today, I mean, I guess like it just goes down to the thinking about like money and greed, or like money and greed being tied together versus money and the ability to scale impact or do good.
Yeah.
Right. So like the way I see it is like, okay, the more, if you have good intentions.
Yeah.
So based on that level, if the more money you have, the more freedom you have to then create things that are impactful and better for the world.
Agreed.
So if my spiritual practice is connected to bringing forth positive impact to the world, then I can do that more by actually having more money.
Yeah.
If I don't have enough money, if I'm caught in survival mode, now I'm in survival mode, and it puts me in a different mental state, and now I can't help anybody. Right.
Yeah.
That's why I've started to think about it that way.
Yeah.
But we are definitely hardwired to think about money as like, if I want more money, it's more greed. Right.
So I love.
I've been working to get out of that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love what you just said, and I definitely think that like, so that reminds me more of like the idea of conscious capitalism, like because then you can do more of a positive impact in the world. But when you use the word spirituality, it makes me rewind time and imagine go back like 2,000 years before there was money, right? If money had never started existing and somebody asked you about spirituality, you would never think that a currency coming into the equation could increase or help your spirituality. I think I can imagine spirituality being like money agnostic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess in an idealist, and we can
like if we hit the reset button and there was no such thing as money, and you were like, what's the relationship between spiritual, like will creating this currency help this idea of spirituality?
Right. That's an interesting point. Yeah, because ultimately, like the only thing you could bring into it really is the concept of abundance, where there's like, like really what we would want is abundance for all humans on earth, right? Abundance doesn't have to have money.
Exactly.
In theory, abundance is just having everything that you need to
Right.
live well,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it's interesting to think about it in that way. It's just that now money is needed in order to obtain the things.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, we can sit here and talk about
Yeah.
this for 2
Yeah.
hours. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. So in terms of from a conscious leadership standpoint,
Yeah.
I think you're a great leader. You're an amazing leader. Yeah. So, I know I've been close to a lot of people that work with you and for you, and they love you. And it's interesting. I'm gonna bring this up because and it's not to say anything bad or anything, but that the previous owner was a tough guy, and so he wasn't necessarily seen that positively by many people.
Yeah.
And so usually when a new leader comes in, you have to sometimes work to really gain the confidence of people, so that this and that.
Right.
But if you're coming in as someone new to a leader that people were not so fond of,
Right.
then it's like you can be seen as like no matter what you do is great, right?
Yeah.
So how do you think about being the best possible conscious leader you can be to many people? How many employees do you have? How many people between the employees plus all the teachers? How many people is that total?
Like a little north of 70.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of humans.
Yeah.
So do you think about like how am I going to be the best possible leader and business owner I can be?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think coming into the business, one of the things I told myself was that I don't want to be liked just because I'm somebody different or I'm not the person that maybe people didn't like. I want a chance to prove myself, and I want to do good for this company before you decide whether you like me or not. And it's not even about likability, I guess. Like I just want to do what's best for the company, for the brand. And I think the byproduct of that is doing good for the people, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's ongoing. I think that like we're still in a process. Like we're only so I took over about 2 years ago, and in the beginning, it's like I always say, imagine there's a train going 100 miles per hour, right? And you're trying to like jump on this train and take control of it. That's what it feels like taking over a 4-studio business in LA, right? You see this train going by, it's 100 miles per hour. So at first, you got to start running next to it at 100 miles per hour just to get ready to jump on. Then you jump on and you start going through all the compartments and you're like, what's going on over here? What's going on over here? Oh, this is so inefficient. Let me clean this up. Yeah. Wait, what are my priorities here? Where do we need to start? So I feel like the first, 6 to 12 months was just that. The first year was just like, let me get control of this train, right? Yeah. And then from there, it turns into, okay, well, now what's our North Star? Where are we trying to go? And who are the right people for each compartment to lead the compartment so we can do this thing as a collective together? To your point, consistency. How do we make sure we're all rowing in the same direction? How do we make sure we're all going towards the same thing? So there was a good amount of that. Now I think we're at a fun crossroads, and this is kind of where you come in. I think we're really defining what the brand is. We're really defining like, who is Sweat Yoga? What do we stand for? How do we want to show up for our community, our members, our city? And like, what is it that we stand for? How do we define ourselves? What are the words we're using so that when people think Sweat Yoga, they're like, oh, that's blah, 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 blah. That's exactly what I think of every time I think of Sweat Yoga. So I think that's kind of where we're at the fork in the road right now, where we're really defining and extracting like the purest minerals of what Sweat Yoga is and putting words to that and a brand around it and visuals around it and videos around it and that sort of thing so that people know. And from there, that's where I think we build a strong enough foundation of the brand to then build on top of.
What does building on top of mean?
Building on top of could mean, I think what that could mean is I really just want to set us up for optionality. So if we have 4 studios right now, if we get to the point where the 4 studios are operating at like a good capacity and are profitable, then it's almost a no-brainer to be like, hey, like this is something people want and need, and we love providing it. So I think it's our responsibility to open number 5. Let's go find that community where we want to open this next studio, and let's do our due diligence and let's do it the right way. and let's open number 5. And then from there, if that's going well, let's open number 6. Why not? Like, this is a service we're providing, to the people. And if it's a service that people are like, yeah, I want more of that, I need that,
Yeah.
then we just want to bring it to more and more communities.
Yeah. What is it? We talked about sweat being such a sensory experience. It really is. There's just so much going on when you go there. The heat, the music, the feeling, the post-sweat feeling is huge.
Yeah. That ice cold lavender towel too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
What is the feeling that you desire for each and every person that goes in and goes out to feel?
Yeah. I love that question. I think it would be cool if somebody comes out of class feeling closer to themselves.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like feeling more of yourself or feeling closer to yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think
that.
the world is full of distractions.
Yeah.
And so when we're being pulled in all these different directions, I think we're being stretched, and we're okay being stretched in whatever way. We're very like yes people. Like we say yes to things just because like it's life. Yeah, let's go with the flow. Like let's do things. But to really get on the mat and to get in this dark thing where you're just like, there's not much. It's really just you and you. It's you, it's your mind, and your body's being stressed out. And your mind is like, it's your point. I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. I got to get out of this class. I can't do this. What is your mind telling you? How are you getting through that moment? What is your self-dialogue? And then when you get out of class, are you like, holy shit, like I feel I just got to know myself a little bit better.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
That's a really epic mission to want. In terms of, that's not necessarily the company mission, but that's a great thing to want anyone and everyone to feel when they come in and get out.
Yeah.
Because that is something that you can want everybody to feel, because you can't really explain how they're going to feel physically. They're all going to feel a bit differently.
Right.
But closer to themselves is something that you can really aim for all of them to have.
Yeah.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to share about it before I ask you one of my last questions?
Ooh. And I feel like I could go on and on, because again, like it has so many, like some people will come to sweat just for the physical, like they're like, hey, I'm an athlete and this is my recovery. And I just need, I'm just get in here and do my thing. Right. But I think, you asked earlier, you said, is there a connection between spirituality and money, which I thought was a great question.
Yeah.
When you started asking the question, I thought you were going to say, is there a connection between spirituality and fitness? And to that, I say, absolutely. I think we find spirituality on the other side through this vessel. Like this in this life, this body is the only life I'm going to get to live in.
Mm-hmm.
And so you push it to its edge physically, mentally, emotionally, in a hot room. If you do all these different things, you find spirituality on the other side of that, because you're challenging yourself in a certain way. And so I do think that, sweat yoga is kind of like where fitness meets spirituality, on a mat in a hot room.
I love that. Well, spirituality can be defined in many different ways, but it could be considered like one's connection to source, to God.
Yeah.
And you can also consider that if you are one with source and God, then it is within yourself. So it's your connection to yourself, which goes back to what you were saying about wanting to being more connected to yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a lot of connection there.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome, brother. What are 2 traits that you believe that a conscious leader must embody today?
Good question, man. I think that, I don't know if this is a trait, but I think leading by example is just the most authentic thing one can do. It's like, it boils down to the simplicity of like, practice what you preach, right? You can't sit here and tell someone else to, do something as a leader and not be doing that for yourself.
Yeah.
So I think, leading by example is up there. And I think a second thing would probably be, showing up fully for your people, because your people, like if you run a company, you have staff, you have employees, you have the next set of people that is going and servicing the customers or that next set of people.
What does showing up fully mean to you?
Showing up fully means, being present, like when you and doing things in a collaborative manner. So let's say I have an idea of, let's say, a new class format. Let's say, hey, like this is a real example.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, hey, if I've never been to sweat yoga and I come off the street, let's say I've never done yoga and I've never been to sweat yoga, but I hear it's this cool place and I got to check it out. And if I walk into a flow class or a chisel class, I'll probably might die. I might hate it. I might not come back, right? I might be confused in the free flow and I might wonder, why is this why do people like this so much, right? I think there's a lot of barriers to entry. So I'm of the notion that, let's come up with an intro format, right? Intro to sweat, where we, in that format, so the flow will exist, the chisel, everything will exist as is. We have this one class, maybe twice a week, called Intro to Sweat. And anytime you sign up a new person or someone's on the new student 10-day unlimited, whatever, you're like, hey, I recommend you start with the intro class. And this intro class can kind of slow things down and break it down and kind of, okay, we have the A flow, it'll still be heated, it'll still be everything as is, but just slowed down a little bit. Maybe you get rid of that third flow. That way you have more time in that slowed down version, right? Mm-hmm. And in that, you're explaining the why behind everything. In the A, you're explaining the why of loosening up your spine. In the free flow, you explain right before the free flow, hey, freedom of movement. Yeah. There's no wrong thing to do here. So anyways, I have these ideas. So when I take it to my team, I can't tell them, hey, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. This is why we're doing it. I think it's very important to collaborate on these decisions and to come up with it together so everyone is invested and bought in and also believes in it.
Yeah.
So I think showing up fully means showing up in a collaborative way, showing up presently, and being a good listener.
I love that. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah. I was just having some meetings earlier today with my team where I was, in a way, also, I was thinking about like the vulnerability aspect of it, of like showing some vulnerability. That's part of maybe showing up fully.
Yeah.
But also, it's like putting my own ideas, being there, allowing for other ideas, making it collaborative, listening, and if you're disagreeing, like explaining why, but also allowing for it. And then so like that whole showing up fully and being the presence is big, because we can really notice like a lack of presence very easily now, right?
Oh my God.
On their phone, whatever it is, you're like, you're not there,
100%.
So being present today is even more valuable probably than it was 20 years ago.
Absolutely. I think you can literally, even if someone's not on their phone, you can tell when someone zones out.
Oh yeah.
You could be looking at someone and like talking to them and they're just kind of like,
yeah.
And you can tell when they're listening and taking it in, or when they've like gone off and they're thinking about something else.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's human, and that's okay. It's fine. It's just noticeable.
Yeah,
it's very obvious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Nikhil, you truly are a conscious leader, brother. So I appreciate you, man. And this has been a really fun conversation.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to offline and have a coffee and a chai that you like and talk about spirituality and money for another different hour. You know what I mean?
I'm down. That sounds fun, dude. I appreciate you, man.
Right on, brother.
This is great.
Pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you like the show, please subscribe or share with a homie. It means the world to me. And honestly, straight up, just hit me up. The easiest way on Instagram, SEBNAUM. Ask me questions. I want to be here as a resource and a source of inspiration. I hope you have a beautiful rest of the day. Much love.